Hello, in this video we are draping our basic bodice and we only will use one side of the dressing form. And when we transfer it to our patterns, we will mirror it symmetrical. We previously pressed down 1 inch in from our center front, which is our straight grain line, and drew our bust line on our cross grain so we stay on right grain of the fabric. We match our bust line straight from our center front to our side seam, and we pin it first on the bust line. And second pin goes to our apex, and we pin it there. And now, without pulling, we smooth the fabric down to the waistline, and we pin it here too. And in draping, the proper way of pinning is in a 45-degree angle toward down, in and out. We pin it around the neck from center front. Pin it here too. Now we have our center front and our apex pinned nicely. Next, we should lay the fabric nicely around the neck and shoulder. Our fabric is straight, flat, and needs some modification, cut and small slashes around the neck and shoulder if needed to make the fabric shaped around the rand areas of our body. So this is our shoulder and neckline as we taped before. So this is where we going to pin first. We use our 2 fingers out and up on the shoulder and the neck point, and we will pin right here. As we see, the neck area started to pull and crease, and there is a tension here. So we have to release that first with the slashes and the little cut. So I will cut the little tip of the fabric and then have a little slashes, and when we slash it, be careful to not pass the line of your neckline. We should stay above 1/4 inch above the line. So little slashes here. As you see, it started to sit around the neck naturally, and there is no tension, no pulling, it's sitting nicely. Now we will pin our shoulder point and smooth that out, and a pin at the shoulder point. Yes. So we have our center front, apex, neckline, shoulder point all pinned. So the next thing, we should smooth around the armhole to the side seam and pull and pin it here. So those lines matches. And then for the side seam, we should smooth down to the waistline without changing the grain and the direction, and pin it there. And now we pinned everywhere. Now we must locate our waist dart, take the apex as a center of our dart down, and pinch. When you are pinching, don't pull it too much and do not fold. Just pinch it from the side to side, and just like that. Now you will see there is some tension and pulling around the waistline started to showing up. So we have to release this tension and pulling by cutting and then putting the slashes like we did on around the neck. And now some slashes here and there, and we do keep our eyes on the waistline that we taped it before. We do not pass that line. It started to release it. Now it's sitting nicely. Now we make the mark of our dart where we pinned, so we know where we have to match the folds, and we make our apex. We cross the apex and we pull out our pin, and now we can close our dart. We take the marked area I'm putting it on top of each other. So there are ways to fold. You can fold toward the center front or toward the sides. I usually like it this way. This is my way. I mean, it usually on the book says the other side, but I like it this way toward the center front because somehow I think it makes the waist leaner, look leaner. It's just the illusion, eye illusion thing. And that's how I like to do it. So you can see the lines is toward the inside. It just looks more like a V. I like it that way. And I pin it right now here. The folding doesn't matter that much. You can fold it in or out. And now another pin toward the up. Do not pin it on the dress form, just the fabrics and the dart together. It is very important to know that. Don't pin it to the dress form. Another pin in here. It's coming together now, huh? Yay! I try to keep it as slowly as possible for you so you can follow it. Now let's just put some slash here to kind of make it rounder around the sides. Now it's nice. This lays nicely. There is no pulling and too much excess of the fabrics, and I'm gonna pin another one on the side seam. Now nicely done, and now you will see there are some extra pockets, excess of fabric around the armhole that needs to be taken. I mean, there are ways to take your dart in different ways. Depends on your design, depends on how you want to take the second dart around the armhole or your shoulder or your bust line. I am going to give you a small example of bust line dart. For the bust line, we can smooth the excess fabric down to the bust line and take the dart fold in down, as on the reference that we drawn before. See, there is no more pockets or baggy look around the armhole. It's smooth. It is smoothed down and is nicely. We can have it in here, or we can, if we don't want to have any boxy and rectangular look and lines in here, we just pin it here and we shift the excess piece to the armhole and take the dart on the armhole. And you will see, I like this line. It has the diagonal and it gives the little V shape. And the next one, if we want to have it on shoulder dart, so we again shift all the excess piece toward the shoulder and smooth it out toward the shoulder, and we pin it right on the shoulder point and right there, and then we take, as you see, it just comes naturally, it just shows. We just pin it right here, and this is our shoulder dart. It's shaping, and we fold it toward the shoulder point, and this is how our shoulder dart looks like. All the darts correct for the basic bodice depends on the design of your fabric. If it has patterns, what dart would look best for the pattern of your fabric, if you want it on the shoulder or somewhere else. Now I'm just going to use, smooth it out here, I'm just going to use the armhole dart in my basic pattern. Now I'm going to take it from the armhole right here and fold it in and pin it to the self fabric, not to the mannequin or dress form. And here, okay, now it's done. Now let's get rid of the extra fabric around the armhole and the side. So I'll take my scissor and cut around the armhole a little bit. Don't get too close to your reference lines that you have it. About an inch away should be fine. But too much fabric usually looks too bulky, and now let's cut it around here too. And here. See, our basic bodice is almost done. Now we need to mark our darts. Please use pencil. B, 2B or HB is fine, but please do not use any permanent markers. They're gonna stain through your fabric and ruin your dress form, and it's too messy, and when you make a mistake you cannot go back. Just use a pencil. Now I'm gonna mark. I already have mark of my bust lines, so I'm gonna start marking the waistline. Start from the center front and toward the side, and on the side seam have the 90-degree angle and go up on the side seam. That's how you mark it. You can touch it. It's usually sewn part is there. It's easy to mark that part. I usually like to use red pencil for the darts. Shows better for me. And cross straight from the dart, so you can have reference of your closing of your darts. Cross from over the fold in here, one and another one in here. Now our apex is going to be center of our fold, so that will help us to figure out where is the center. And now go around the armhole, and at the end of the side seam and the armhole, make sure where you are showing where it ends, and here. And the armhole dart, we go over that so we can see where it folds from, and we make a mark like this way. And mark across again on the folds. I'm using red again. One here and another here. Well, our dart end should not be very close to our apex anyway. We usually gonna keep it about 1 inch or half an inch away from the apex, from the waist and armhole dart. And then we move on to armhole toward the shoulder point, and on the shoulder point we make a little T or a cross, and make sure that you have your shoulder seam and neck point. We make another T or a cross on the 90 degree. Those areas should be on the 90 degree in our pattern too. And our neck point to center front, that should be 90 degree to here. The same thing with the waistline, center front and the waistline. So this is, you check it again around again before you take it away, so you make sure that you have all references and your darts and all your lines are drawn in, and you don't miss anything. I'm just showing it a little closer so you can have a better look. I'm just gonna go over here again. Well, I'm gonna clean all the lines when I'm doing it on my pattern, when I transfer it to the dotted paper, but it's always, you know, good idea to have it rightly done on your draped piece before it's too late. So another one here. Okay, so 90 degree and T on the side, and I'm probably gonna correct this line on the dotted paper. This is kind of not exactly 90 degree, which I'm gonna correct it on my dotted paper, my pattern. Apex drawn. Okay, so this girl is ready. Time to do the back now. As shown before, we have our back muslin piece for draping ready. We drawn our shoulder blade line to stay on track with our grains. So we align our back shoulder blade line from center back, and we pin right on that line first. And we pin it right here. And another pin at the center back neckline. And the third pin should go right there so we don't lose our horizontal line, and then vertical down, smooth down to the waist without pulling, and we pin it right there too. So like before we did in the front, we need to find our points around the neck and shoulder line. So smooth out and go up. Oh, I forgot to take out the front piece, so I can't pin it. Now let's take the side of the front piece and just a little bit, and you don't have to remove the whole thing, and on the shoulder too. Okay, so be careful to not pin yourself like I did. Turn around and let's find our neck and shoulder point. So again, we smooth out around the neck and shoulder area, and we pin it right at the seam line that we drawn before. So just one right here, and smooth out toward the shoulder point and pin it right here too. Okay, the next one, we want to smooth around the armhole and find our side seam under the armhole and pin it right here. I'm left-handed, so it's kind of hard sometimes to do it for me, and I'm recording this. So smooth down the side seam without the pulling in a different direction down to waistline. I love it, that's how it's visible, that you can see the side seam. And we pin it right here. And you will see naturally it's coming out. Oh, let me pin one in here in the center back, because if I pull it, it's gonna come out, lose the straight line. So if you need to pin more than 2 or 3 is fine. So now we pinned properly the side and armhole, center back and shoulder. Now since we pinned it down, we didn't slash and cut the neck area. We should, as we see, is pulling. Now we should cut and slash it open so it lays nicely and properly around the neck. Some slashes. Again, do not forget to stay inside, out of the neckline. Do not pass the neckline. Okay, so sits proper nicely. Just wraps around it so easily after a little bit of slashes. Now let's get this too much of pieces out. Just cut these pieces around the armhole, neck, and the side too. Too much fabric is bulky. Now let me take the dress form up. The darts kind of start showing up on this back, but before I do take this in, on the side I should pin another more so the line stays straight, because when I pull the dart, that line is not going to be straight. And here maybe one more around the armhole. Keep the straight grain on a straight grain. Now I can pinch around the waist, maybe a line between the center back and the side seam. Just right in the middle is fine. And then pinch it and pin it right like that, and go a little bit up. Don't pull it too much, don't stretch it, just as it's naturally is falling in. So another thing, we have to have slashes around the waist, so makes it easier. It's not going to be any crease and pulls here. It's gonna come naturally. Okay, yes, maybe one in here too. Falls in as we see. Yeah. Now let's take the pins out again and redo our dart. Pinch it again. Since we cut the excess on the waist, it's kind of gonna little change the dart. I would say don't pinch it too much. As you see, this is pulling and you're losing the straight grain of your back, and it means that it's going to be too tight around the back. So just a little bit and marked our darts right here, the closing toward up, and this side as well. Yeah, you don't want to go too high up passing the bust line and the shoulder blade. So let's fold in right here. Again, I do fold it toward the center back. Yeah, let's try to fold it our reference. Hold it here. Fold it up. One thing I would say, do not fold it too high up toward the shoulder blade. See, you have a back and your back stretches when you breathe and you move. So you need some extra room for the breathing. So don't pass too high up and give a little room around the back, around the bust line and the back. So when you move around, if it's too tight, it's gonna stretch the dart seams or back seams, or it's gonna pop the seams anyway. So it is good to have a little room on the back, and don't try to pass much of your bust line. So I will take this off and give it a bit little room in the back. Yeah, just gonna keep it little roomy toward the back. Just one more here and that's it. Now our time to draw on our references, and we start with the center back on the waistline. Again, don't forget the 90-degree or T, and then toward the side seam, draw over your dart, waist dart at the back, and make a little mark about your closure, and you cross your line on the dart up, and here this is your bust line at the back. I just wanted to make a little mark that I know where the bust line goes toward the back and the center back, and on the side seam too. This is gonna good reference point, and it's a good place to put notches anyway. And on the side seam, you make your side seam, draw your side seam, and now go all the way down to the waistline. And the waistline, we do a 90-degree again across around the waistline, and draw the waistline. Now time to do our armhole. Now armhole and the side seam is done too, all the way up around the armhole, 2 shoulder point. Bring it down a little bit so you can see it. Now at the back, we need another. Do you see this little pocket? It's just a little tiny. It doesn't seem right now too much, but in the fabric it will show the real fabric. So we will take that part to on the shoulder. We smooth it out up and we make it nicely fitted around the shoulder and pin it right here, and now it's more visible and more showing. And we will take that shoulder dart. It's not a big dart, it's a tiny little bit dart, but that much changes the look of the shoulders and the shoulder line. So we take that in, and remember, one suggestion: when your dress or bodice has a nice, clean and sharp lines in the shoulder and neck area, well-defined shoulders, armholes and neck area in the dress or top and the bodies, and especially in jacket, it's makes a big difference. It changes the whole look. So it is very important to have a nice, well-defined shoulder seam, neck seam and armhole. Now we readjust the lines on the armhole and the shoulder seam. Since we put another dart over there, don't forget to put a T or cross on the shoulder point and all the way shoulder seam to the neckline, and the shoulder and neck point should be little T as well, or cross. And just to make sure you have 90 degree right here too, another one. So we have our 90 degree right there too. So now make mark on for our dart in the back. Draw across so you will know the width of the dart. So we should, since we have everything now together, so we are going to attach them together, front and the back, by pins. I will show you how to do it, and for the last time we will see how the seams and the lines, how they look on each other. Just fold in on the side seam like you are sewing it. Just put it on the top of each other like that, and pin the fabrics, not to the dress form, and attach them together on the sides. And after that we're going to do the shoulders. Another pin in here, and another pin on the waistline. The waistline here. Let me take this up a little bit, and another pin on the waistline. Only fabric to fabric. So now we need to do the shoulders. So we fold this piece in. Since it doesn't have darts, it's easier. Just fold it on top of the back draped piece and pin it next on the shoulder, neckline first, mid shoulder, and then shoulder point. It's right here. And our shoulder point. Nice. After attaching these all together, so we will see if any part of the bodice is pulling or is it too baggy or not. So it seems, let's just open up here a little bit so I can see if there is any extra pocket around the armhole or not. So again, we don't open it too much. Half an inch should be enough, or less enough for the, just stay a little bit away from the drawn lines. Okay. Around the neck, take the excess fabrics. And let's take this up around the waist. Take this down a little bit, so take a last look at everything and make sure we are on the track. So now this is ready, everything is marked and lined, and now we are ready to take it to the dotted paper and make a basic pattern. I hope you enjoyed this video and it was helpful for you.